Hi, everyone. This is Veronica Rosenfeld, CEO of You Rise Movement. When you clearly know who you are and what is very next for you, you rise to your greatness and step to your destiny. Why clarity? Well, clarity because think about it. Without clear vision, you can't get anywhere. You're sitting somewhere and you know street number, city, and a zip code. And without that, you can't get there. The same with life. So clarity mastermind, the mastermind, because I believe the fastest shortcut to get anything, it's through learning from people who already have been there. So today we have an amazing person. We call her Supermom, LaChelle Adkins. She has 15 children, and this woman acts like she has more time than I do, and I have only 2. So with that being said, LaChelle.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Veronica, for including me with your audience. I really appreciate it. And I've loved the opportunity of getting to know you better. I'm very inspired by your clarity. You know, it really resonates whenever you speak and the topics that you discuss. And, you know, I've even got a chance to listen to you do a group presentation. I believe it was for some realtors or something. You did a live broadcast. Yeah. So just being able to see the impact you have on other people, I could feel that when I met you. So I'm glad that I was able to have the opportunity to share with your audience today. So today I wanted to talk about 7 ways to be a super mom. So Jeremiah, I know you're on the call, but you could be a super dad. All right. But I'm a little biased because I am a woman, so I know pretty much how the woman side of things works. So if you
it's the most important side.
Okay. So do you want me to just get started, Veronica? This is your show. You let me know how you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
A little background.
So usually I introduce speakers, and I'm really bad. I forgot to ask you for bias. So do you mind to share a little bit your story?
Sure. Okay. All right.
And then share what you like to share.
Okay. So I'll just start kind of with our connection and then go back a little bit. So I joined a master class that Veronica was having for Jeremiah Knight. I believe he was the speaker, and I kind of got the tail end and ended up talking another 2 hours, I believe, after the call with Veronica. But how I met Jeremiah was on a podcast show on Facebook where I was a guest also. So he had made a comment on one of the shows that I was on. And so I reached out to him after the call in order for him to come on my Facebook Live. But a little bit about me, how I even got to the Facebook Live.
LaChelle, 1 second, please. LaChelle, 1 second. Natalie, welcome. Would you please mute yourself because it's very loud and it's hard for us to hear.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Hi, Natalie. Okay, so how it worked for me and Jeremiah to get acquainted was, you know, my background as a life coach. So as Veronica stated in the beginning, my husband and I have 15 children, no twins, all single births. We had 13 children together, and then 2 of them are my husband's sons that are my stepchildren. So needless to say, my husband has done a phenomenal job being the breadwinner for the family. I was raised an only child, so every day has really pretty much been an adventure for me, transitioning from one birth to another and just establishing chore systems and things like that. So it's always been a work in progress, always growing. So me and my husband, we met in college. However, you know, as our family grew, we made the decision for me to stay home and for him to work. And of course, I never had the experience of being around a stay-home mom. My mom was a working mother, and I didn't have an example. The only example I had was the stories, and I definitely wasn't getting spa treatments and shopping and traveling across seas on a jet. But it was a really challenging life for us, because with me being an only child, we never really had a support system. So when we had to do things, it was my husband and I. He was the youngest of five, but we lived in a location where we didn't really have a lot of family. So if the kids needed something, it was pretty much us. So we kind of maintained somewhat of a survival mode as we grew with the number of kids. And so as a result, I was battling depression and stress and anxiety to the point to where 3 times I was hospitalized for that. So after my third hospitalization, which was in 2016, that's when I got into life coaching, because I really was able to recognize what my triggers were, how I can live a more fulfilled life, how to minimize my stress, and begin to take my life by the reins, so to speak. And so now I am a coach to help empower other people to do that in their own life. So going back to the Facebook Live with Jeremiah, one of the things that I have been doing through my coaching, because I have been, I don't really watch the news anymore. That was something that I gave up after my last hospitalization. But there's been a lot of things in social media about how people are committing suicide or really struggling with depression. And so one of the things that I wanted to incorporate in my type of coaching is to also have real life situations where you can talk to people and encourage them every day. So that's really what my Facebook Lives are about. So I purposely usually don't meet people before I have them come on a Facebook Live. I have an organic conversation with them. And this is the opportunity for me, one, to show people if you have your own business, how you can organically network and how you can implement the strategies of listening to understand more so than listening to reply, as well as just gleaning a new perspective. So, you know, for me, I have a marketing background. So my husband and I, we met in college, and that was my course of study, was marketing. So we've had other businesses in the past. However, for me, coaching, it's more about relationship building. And so it's totally, there's some marketing aspects I do use, but a lot of it is really a foreign territory for me. Really, I love to challenge myself on a daily basis, and I use a lot of organic growth through these Facebook Lives. So that's how I got connected to Jeremiah. We still are staying connected because his thing is to be bigger than Harry Potter books. So I told him when he gets to making all that money, don't forget about me. But I was following him, and so that's how I got linked to Veronica. So that's a little background about me.
That's great. So let's, if you can share with us the 7 tips of how to deal with children.
Okay. All right.
I know Erin has 10-year-old, but she has the child who doesn't like, it's just like the most amazing child. She just does things when being asked. And Natalie, awesome. I don't know if you have children or not. I know Jeremiah has 3, so I have 2, and I would love to.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the tips on how you can be a super mom in your own life. Okay, so the first thing is knowing yourself. You know, a lot of us, I know for me, I'm always somebody's mom. I'm Elizabeth's mom or Jeremiah's mom. And a lot of times you don't really have your own identity as a mom. You know, you just kind of assimilated this role. You know, you hardly ever know your kids' friends' moms' names. It's just like, I'm the mom. And, you know, you have begun to identify with that. So the first thing is to separate you as the individual from the role that you play. And so this is very important because for me, how I struggled was if I was doing good as being a mom, I was having a good day. I was getting a lot accomplished. I felt like I had value. But then the days where nothing went right, something was always chaotic, then I felt down. Okay. And so, in order for you to maintain a level of stability on a daily basis and really kind of recognize what you can and cannot control, the best thing is just to know yourself. So, I'll give you an example. So, if I'm driving a car and I get a flat tire, okay, um, normal people would probably say, okay, you got a flat tire. Do you know how to change it? Do you have a spare? Let's just replace this tire and keep it moving. But in my case, through my depression, stress, and anxiety, I would go like, "Ugh, I'm just a terrible driver. What is wrong? I don't even think I should drive anymore because I got this flat tire." So when you're in a position to where you really don't have a clear um, stance about who you are, when things happen to you, you personalize it on a negative spin, no matter what it is. If you have a day where, you don't cook a meal that everybody likes, then you're stressed out thinking you're a bad cook. It's like it's always some narrative that's negative with putting yourself down or continually feeling like you're validating how you can't do things right. Does that make sense for everybody?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you know yourself, in the case of the flat tire, it's like, I wouldn't give my car away because it had a flat tire. I wouldn't sell it. I wouldn't stop driving because I had a flat tire. Of course, a tire is something that can make your life a little difficult, depending on if you had an appointment you were traveling to or whatever the case is, but you would just get the tire fixed and keep driving. It's just something that happens. But in the case of someone who is stressed, has a lot of anxiety, that is just could be the one thing that kind of just puts you on this downward spiral to think nothing good goes for you, or there's something wrong with you because you got a flat tire. Okay, so the first thing is knowing yourself. Okay, that's knowing what your passions are, what your talents are, and what your strengths are. So a lot of times this is something that I forgot. I was just referring to myself as such and such as mom, or my husband's wife. I never really kind of sat down and thought about what were my strengths and weaknesses, or just things that I wanted to do, because my life was filled with what my kids wanted, what my husband wanted, and I just lost sight of who I was. I couldn't even probably sometimes have a conversation with people because they're like, "Oh, how do you do it?" And I'm answering that. But if they were to say, "Oh, okay, so you have these children, so what are some things you like to do?" I probably couldn't even give them an answer. You know what I'm saying? Because my life was so full of doing things for other people. So the first thing is know yourself. The second thing is collaborating with others. So if you have a vision, in your case, Veronica, you have a vision for building You Rise up to this great, huge business, which you're on your way of doing, right? Jeremiah, he wants to sell more books than Harry Potter. He's on his way. And Erin has her, don't tell me, something with Joy Karma. Was that right? Something like that.
Joy Kwando.
Joy Kwando. I knew it was something. Okay.
And we have Natalie, right? And Natalie has she's a financial advisor.
Okay, so Natalie has a financial advisor. So you see this big vision. The key is knowing that you can't do it by yourself. You can get a lot further just in this particular setting that we have tonight. If each one of us went and told one person about what we discussed or the tips, it's going to reach more people than one of us trying to talk to 5 to 10 people. So even in a day, if you had so many coaching clients, there's only so many hours in a day in order for you to do your research, for you to network, do your coaching. You can't see that many people. So it's easier if you tell one person and that one person tells somebody or whatever, or you get a group of people together, collaborate on a mission, and then you accomplish your goal. So that's the thing. So a lot of times as a mom, we think we have to wear all these different hats. And so we assimilate that with doing everything by ourselves, and so we delegate, yes, but sometimes we don't delegate smart. We're delegating things that, you know, um, I don't know, you can kind of begin to delegate things around the house, if you have a business, because you're trying to keep that balance with home and family. However, you may not delegate in your business, because we have this idea where we want to control everything. So it's like, okay, I don't want to delegate marketing, or I don't want to delegate these things. And so we don't even kind of consider that. So we think delegating and taking things off our plate are just like maybe the family things. So somebody else can do laundry, but what about somebody else doing your marketing so that you can do your income producing activities? So collaborating with others is a big one in order to cover a lot more ground in a faster amount of time. Okay.
Hey guys,
The
I really do
third,
apologize. I have to dip out. You guys are awesome. I believe in your dreams.
all right.
Love you,
Thanks a lot.
Supermom. Love you,
Okay,
Veronica.
thank
You're
you.
awesome, Aaron.
Bye, Jeremiah.
All right. The third thing is building a tribe. Okay. So this is important because as you build in your business, there are going to be things that you're going to have to be disciplined about, and you're going to have to change. So let's say that, you start off, you kind of are small, where you have like 5 or 6 clients, and you're working on expanding. And as you get bigger, there are certain things you're going to have to scale. You're going to have to add systems. You're going to have to do things a lot more effectively, because as your client base grows, you're not going to be able to do the same thing with 10 people like you can do with 5. So if you're building a tribe is, just like Veronica mentioned earlier, is getting with people who have done what you're doing so that you can learn at a faster pace. You can get there quicker. So when you're building a tribe of like-minded people, they'll be able to give you the tips and tools in order to do that effectively. So for example, if I am in a tribe of entrepreneur women, they could give me some hacks on, hey, I have a new recipe. You could feed 10 people, with 3 ingredients. And then, that helps me with some of my family things that can help me move forward in my business. So everything doesn't necessarily have to be quote unquote business related, but when you're around a tribe of people that are like-minded, maybe they value family like you do, or they value establishing boundaries. It could be something in business where it's like, hey, I'm not driving or flying across country. I'm going to maintain my business with a digital footprint. And so I'm going to do Skype, or I'm going to do Zoom, or whatever face medium that I can use instead of just traveling all over the place. And so they can give you some tips on doing that. So when you have a tribe, you kind of are clearly able to define what it is that you value. And then you find people that value those things, and then you glean off one another. So that's very important, because a lot of times, just like I said, as you accomplish new goals and you move up in your business, you'll learn that you're going to begin to change. There's going to be different things that happen for you. You may be doing social media a lot more, so it may require you to do a little bit more research, or you're repurposing your content, or doing different things. And so it will be sometimes like a seesaw where, business is going up. Sometimes you feel like your family life is not moving up. So then you got to kind of maintain a balance. It's like you're always working to keep those scales somewhat in balance. And so as you do that, you might be doing well in business, but if you have a tribe, they'll help you say, hey, you're doing good, but what about your family? Then you go back to your family. And so it's a constant seesaw that you're doing. But when you have a tribe, you're able to stay somewhat stable instead of it being you going up and down, being happy, sad, happy, sad. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The fourth thing is mastering your skills. So sticking to what you love and finding a way to monetize that. So if you're good at, in Veronica's case, she's good with clarity. You know, she's clear about what she wants. She knows how to set a goal. She knows how to accomplish it, you know, good at networking or working her circle in a way that's going to leverage her to accomplish those things. So when we have that, you know, those are the things that we really need to master, because a lot of times we spend a lot of time working um, inefficiently. So, you know, you can't master everything. We can't be good in everything. Nobody's perfect. So you want to master the things that are going to make you excellent. So if those are the things that you're skilled and talented at, then that's when you delegate in the areas that you're not excellent. Because it's a lot easier if you have a 98% grade point average. It's a lot easier to get to 100 than it is to take something from 70 to 100. Would you guys not agree?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're already good at something, master being excellent at that one thing instead of trying to go back in all these little areas where you're average and thinking that you can make it 100. Okay. So master the thing that you're good at. And then when you're doing that, find a way to monetize it. So if I'm good at public speaking, how can I monetize that? Maybe I can do videos on YouTube or, you know, speaking engagements or whatever. Okay. The fifth one is scheduling self-care. And these are not in any particular order, guys, I want to say, because self-care should be probably up there number one, right? Self-care is not necessarily going to the spa, getting your nails done, you know, going shopping. Self-care is really the things that you do to take care of yourself. So it's like if you have a car, part of your car is, yeah, you take care of it when things fall apart, but you also want to be proactive in getting your car worked on before things get to be a problem. It's the maintenance of the car, right? So that's how we have to think about ourselves, you know. And I use the illustration of when you go and add value to people, let's imagine that you have a pitcher full of water, and that water is symbolic of you pouring out things that you do for others, adding value, doing podcasts, you know, free content, you know, complimentary discovery calls or whatever your business may be. So you're just pouring this water out. If you don't have self-care, you're thinking you're going around pouring stuff and there's nothing in the pitcher anymore. It's empty. So you have to have time to go get some more water so you can serve some more people. So when you are refueling, that is you doing self-care. So it could be maybe you need to take a vacation, or maybe you need to just take a day off. You know, you've had a stressful week and you're still trying to keep working. You know, you're not going to get anything out of yourself if you have reached rock bottom. So you got to think about, just like it says on the airplane, put your own oxygen mask on first, and then you're able to help others. So for me, an easy way to remember this is whatever it is that you want to give to people, make sure you give it to yourself first. So if I want to be kind, I need to show myself how to be kind. You know, if I want to be energized, then I got to do the things that's going to give me energy, because if I take care of myself, then when I enter an agreement or a relationship with somebody, I can go into that relationship ready to give 100 because I'm already full. So I'm not looking for this other person to validate me or give me something that I'm missing. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yeah.
So I'm already full, so I'm able to give out. So just like your case with the joy kwando, if you're already joyful, you know, you've done all your stuff to get you ready, it's easy for you to teach somebody else how to have joy. But if you don't have joy, you know, you just out there wasting your time. And people can feel that. You know, so just like Veronica, she's clear about stuff. So when she talks about clarity, it resonates with people because they're like, man, you can feel the fact that she has clarity because she's already fueled herself in that. Okay. So that's the importance of getting self-care, is getting clear about what it is that you need, and being able to provide that for yourself. So I've been saying a lot of stuff. Does anybody have any questions? Because I'm kind of going on and on. Just want to make sure that we are clear with everything.
We'll get to the questions in a few minutes. So
Okay. All right. So number 6 is implementing a good sleep routine. Okay. You want to make sure that you're getting enough rest. You know, you cannot go on empty. So taking the time to make sure, you know, if you're not sleeping good right now, gradually building yourself up to 7 to 8 hours of sleep, because it's going to make a difference in how you're able to perform consistently. So like if you know, of course, there's going to be times if you're traveling or, you know, in this case, on Tuesdays, it's been kind of a new routine where I'm up late doing these calls with Veronica. But if there's certain days that you're doing stuff, that's okay. But on a regular basis, you want to be able to get good rest so that you can be consistent in performing what it is that you are looking to perform. So if I'm a life coach and half the time I don't know when I'm going to bed or when I'm getting up, you know, that's not going to allow me to be consistent in the type of services that I provide to my clients. Because one day I might have energy to do something, then the next day I don't. And so it affects my performance on social media, how I interact with clients, you know, how I do my work, how I do my research, how I'm able to retain material. All these different things, you know, are a result of not sometimes having enough rest. So you want to make sure that you implement a good sleep routine. So the important thing about this is that a lot of people can survive with minimum sleep. Okay. So the difference is surviving or shining. So if you're surviving, that's good, but you want to work up to shining. And shining is being at your optimal peak point. And so if you don't get enough sleep now, gradually try to increase it an hour at a time so that you can begin to get yourself in a position to where your body is able to refuel and do what it does naturally without you suffering. Okay. All right. And then the last thing is taking action. This is important because we go through taking our notes, reading our books, watching the podcast, doing, getting all this information, but not really acting on it. So you want to be sure about figuring out what is the least thing you can do just to get started. Okay. So that's why I say, like, we're talking about a sleep routine. You know, yes, 8 hours is maybe the optimal amount of time to sleep. But if you're not sleeping 5 hours, you know, start something that's closer to what you're doing. Even if you have to go to bed 15 minutes earlier until you can gradually get into a routine where you build up to 8 hours. Because what we do is when we take action, we go from 0 to 100 and we're not able to maintain it. We might maintain it for a week, but then it sets us back further than when we started a lot of times. So if you say you're going to go on a diet, it's like, hey, you know, I'm going to be vegetarian. I'm not going to eat meat. And you've been eating meat for like 40 years. So to think that you're just going to stop cold turkey, hey, I heard this talk and, you know, they talked to me about why meat might not be good and all this stuff. And then you have this unrealistic goal based on where you're at. So when you have a goal, you want to be able to take action, but you want to break it down so far that it's so easy that you just, it's ridiculous if you don't do it. But knowing that you have to have the patience to work up, because it's a matter of creating a habit. So for example, let's say that you want to get up earlier. So you get up 15 minutes earlier. You know, 15 minutes, that's like, okay, instead of pushing the snooze button for 15 minutes, you're going to get up when that alarm goes off. You know, it could be maybe you have to do that 15 minutes. You take your alarm, if it's on your phone, and move your phone out of your bedroom, but someplace close by where you have to go physically get up and turn off your phone. So that can get you to the point where you're out of the bed instead of just grabbing for your phone and turning it off, which will help you get out of bed, right? So when you're thinking about action, you want to think about what are some things that I can do that make it easier for me to implement A, B, or C. So maybe you want to journal, a gratitude journal. Well, don't just think you're going to automatically start journaling. You have to create an atmosphere for you to journal. So it may sound crazy, but maybe you have to put your journal in the bathroom where you put your toothbrush, so that when you brush your teeth in the morning, there's your journal until it becomes a habit. Then you can move your journal next to your bed because you've already created the habit. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the part where we have to, when you take action, you have to really identify what it is that would work for you. So if I have 15 kids, I can listen to people that have 1, 2, or 3 kids, but I'm going to have to figure out, okay, if they're making a meal for 4 people, I can't make a meal for 4 people, think I'm going to feed everybody. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to have to increase the ingredients. I'm going to have to do different things so that I can use that same recipe so that it fits me. And so that's the same thing when it comes to masterminding or different things that we have goals and aspirations for, is picking out the things that we want to change, but how can we do it so it fits with me and my lifestyle so that I can implement it right now if I needed to. So does that make sense for everybody?
Yeah.
All right. So that's my 7 things for how you can be a super mom. So I'm going to go back over them really quick and then open the floor for questions. So the first one was knowing yourself, knowing what your passions, talents, or strengths are. Knowing who you are as a person, not tying it to somebody else's mom, or your husband's wife, whatever. It's knowing who you are and what strengths you bring to the table. The second one is collaborating with others. When you have a big vision, you can't do it all by yourself, like being on an island. So it's important to collaborate with others because you'll get a lot further by having other people work with you. The third one is building a tribe or support system. So if you are doing good in business, it's good to possibly have a business coach or people that are with you in terms of the type of business. When you're doing your business, you also might want to have a family support, different people in your family that can help you coordinate events, do different things with your kids, maybe a parenting coach that can give you some tips and tools for how you're going to implement a ritual or something with your family as you grow your business. Maybe Friday's family game night or something, or, number 4 is mastering your skills. So taking the time to provide excellence in the things that you're already good at, and then delegating the rest. Number 5 was scheduling self-care, making sure that it's the things that sharpen your iron, that get you up to speed, and providing whatever it is that you are providing to other people, make sure you're providing it to yourself. So a good example is I'm a life coach, but I also have a coach. And so you also want to make sure that you kind of keep a balance with that. Number 6 is making sure you implement a good sleep routine, starting where you are and working up to 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And then the last thing is taking action. You want to make sure that when you do your goals, that you go back, you can re-engineer what it is you're working towards, but you want to go back and do the easiest thing that will get you started, because this is the thing that separates those that are successful from not successful, is most people are talking about what they want to do and very few people are actually doing what they're talking about. So if you want to be somebody that's doing what you're talking about, make it so easy for you to get started, because once you get started, you're going to get momentum and people are going to see you doing stuff. And then you're going to begin to get different challenges and you'll find ways that you can do what you're doing a lot easier. But nobody is going to be in a position to help you with that if you're not taking action. So those are the 7 things, guys.
Perfect. So
Okay.
what is this one thing that I have 2 pre-teenagers. So what would you recommend when you have those age when they start having a lot of their own opinions?
Yes, that's a good one. One of the things with teenagers is, you know, they are really struggling with trying to have their own identity. And so, you know, I appreciate teenagers because they kind of see life as not having any limits. And so as a parent, we're trying to still kind of maintain those limits or standards. And so this is the time where you have to kind of transition to making them think that they are coming up with their own best ideas. So it may be something that you already know the answer to, but you have to begin to start coaching them and instead of delegating or telling them things. So it's asking them the question, oh, well, you know, have you considered maybe this? You know, so like, let's say that they have an altercation with a friend. Well, you know, she always wants to do this or that. And it's like, well, have you considered, you know, what she may be thinking? Is she thinking that maybe you're trying to be the boss or something? So you want to ask them things to make them begin to start thinking for themselves. They come up with their own conclusion, and you're leading them, but you lead them by asking them the questions for them to really comprehend what they're thinking about. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have a question?
So my kid's an alien, and what I mean by that is I never, even when she was a newborn, I never saw her as a baby. I always saw her as visiting royalty from some other world.
Okay.
It's kind of weird.
Okay.
It really helped me to see her in a way that I never had to say, no, we don't do that, or go over here, go over there. It was like, hey, you know, we don't really do things that way here. This is the way we do it, and here's why. And it was just more of like I can actually respect her, and she respects me, and we just have a very, like, not adult way of speaking, but it's a very mature way of dealing with things instead of just do what I say because I'm your mom.
Right. So you're saying, so what, you have a question about that?
No, I'm just adding, I'm adding to what you were saying.
That is so true. Yeah.
There comes a time when it's not about them, you know, being a kid and just doing what they're told, but they actually need to start having their own ideas and their own identities.
Exactly. And so you've kind of raised her to kind of begin to always understand the reasoning and kind of see things from another perspective and appreciate it and understand that, yeah, some people may do things a certain way, but however, based on our household, this is how we do it. Yeah. So that's good. That kind of minimizes a lot of peer pressure. So like as she gets older, she'll already understand, you know, why certain things are a certain way and feel confident with being able to ask that, as opposed to other kids that are just told, hey, this is how we do it no matter what. Yeah. Good point. Yep.
Jenny, Amy, do you have questions?
I don't have any questions, but I just want to, first of all, I want to thank you for all of your tips that you shared. But the one thing that really touched me and helped me was the one, mastering your skills, sticking to what you love and what you do well. That was a good reminder for me, because this week I've really been doubting. So I do music and guided imagery really well, but I haven't been making the money that I hoped to with it. because my business hasn't really taken off. And so I've been kind of sliding back going, okay, maybe I should do VIP kit just to make some extra money. And so I took my focus off of the music, and I've been trying to, you know, practice VIP teaching. And then I realized that's not what I want to do. I want to do my music. So this is just a good reminder to keep our focus on what our passion is and what our talent, where our talents are, and, you know, what we do well. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, that is a really good one, because, you know, that's the quickest way to spread yourself too thin and begin to burn out, is doing the things that you're not, you know, I wouldn't say gifted in doing, because we all can do things, but it's not going to be the same as focusing on the things that you excel, and you're going to feel different about doing it, you know. So it's like, if you kind of feel that lag, like, oh, do I really have to do that? Now, of course, there's things like, even as a mom, you know, sometimes you have to cook when you really don't want to, or you may not be feeling well and you still have to do business as usual, but you kind of understand why you're doing that or not. But if you're doing other things and not really able to gauge where your passion or your profits are coming from, it's kind of counterproductive, because you're not going to always be able to recreate that or understand what it was that pushed you over the edge to make whatever you make. So yeah.
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 I appreciate you're talking about not being on an island, because I have been on an island for a very long time. And so I came to Veronica to have her help me get off that island. And so I'm actually here because I am wanting to surround myself with people who do things. So I'm appreciative that you are saying that that's important to do that.
Yeah. And you know, that is so true, because you really, when you're around other people, it gives you that energy. Because, you know, it's just like, if you're tired sometimes, and if you call, like, even some of us might have been tired before this call, but when we get around a topic that we can all have in common, there's an energy there, you know, and we can't recreate that if we're by ourselves. Because if you get drained, I mean, how are you going to get the energy? Because you're shutting yourself off from other people, and nobody's going to be able to give you that fuel that you need. Yeah. So that's why it's always good to stay connected. Yeah.
It's so important.
Amy, do you have questions? Amy, you with us?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself.
Hey,
Hello, everybody. So I love well, as you were talking about the going to bed earlier or more sleep, I'm like, I wonder if that would work the same as the getting up early, and then it's like you've read my mind.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's a big one for me. So my body is starting to wake up the time that I put out there to get up.
Oh,
I'm like, what are you doing?
I know.
I'm like, hey. So I need to listen to my subconscious mind that it's saying, ha ha ha, I woke you up because you said you wanted to get up.
Right. Be careful what you wish for. That's for sure. You're right. Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. That's mine. That's my big one.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you.
You're welcome.
It's all awesome. But that was.
Do you guys have any more questions, or we are good today?
I don't have any questions, but I really love the subject.
Oh,
all good points.
Thank you, guys.
And I like that you geared it towards both parenting and running a business, because it's so similar.
Yeah. That's one of the things we struggle with. That is so true. You know, because we feel like, you know, and a lot of times, you know, you feel like you cannot have it all. And really you can. You know, it's just a matter of doing it in balance. And, you know, if you can just create, like this case, having a mastermind. You know, there's so much information you can get that where you can do it where it's easy. You're able to ask questions. You can implement things right away that are going to help you rather than spending 20 hours researching or listening to different audiobooks. Not to say those things aren't good, but sometimes that interaction face to face and being able to ask somebody a question can take you a lot further than reading 10 or 12 books, you know, because you really don't have an opportunity to ask the author, did you mean this by this or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You are so welcome. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.